You lock eyes with a figure across the freezing tundra. They look almost exactly like you, but their chest is thicker and their brow is heavier. Their grip could effortlessly crush your bones. For 99% of human history, this was not a sci-fi encounter. It was your daily reality. Today, 8 billion of your kind belong to a single, lonely species. Your species is the only one left on this entire planet. But what if your greatest ancient rival never vanished? What if Neanderthals survived the Ice Age and built the modern world right alongside you? To understand this bizarre alternate reality, you have to travel back about 100,000 years. The world is a brutally cold place. You are standing face to face with a Neanderthal. You might think of them as dumb brutes, but your assumption is completely wrong. Look closely at their bodies. They are perfectly engineered for the freezing temperatures of the Ice Age, built like absolute survival tanks. Their limbs are shorter and their chests are incredibly wide. This thick, barrel-chested shape helps their bodies retain precious heat in sub-zero weather. If you got into a physical fight with this person, you would lose immediately. Their muscle mass is vastly superior to your own. Even their noses are larger and wider. This acts as a built-in humidifier, warming up the freezing ancient air before it hits their lungs. Your ancestors were physically weaker, taller, and much more fragile. In a purely physical survival contest, the Neanderthal holds all the winning cards. So, how did your physically weaker ancestors survive, while these ice-adapted powerhouses went completely extinct? The answer lies deep inside the skull. You might guess that your brain was simply much bigger, but archaeological evidence confirms that Neanderthal brains were actually larger than yours. They possessed complex stone tools, they controlled fire, and they even wore crafted animal clothing to survive the biting wind. They were highly intelligent. If they were stronger and had bigger brains, their extinction makes absolutely no sense. Unless, of course, your ancestors used a hidden secret weapon. You pick up one of their stone tools. It is not a crude rock. It is a highly engineered blade, crafted with intense precision. Archaeological evidence from sites in Europe confirms they manufactured synthetic glue from birch bark. This requires complex temperature control and deep chemical knowledge. You watch them carefully tending to a warm campfire. They did not just fear fire like wild animals. They completely mastered it for survival. They also possessed symbolic thinking. Findings from Krapina Cave suggest they wore eagle talons as jewelry. They had their own unique aesthetic culture. Some researchers debate that they even buried their dead with flowers at Shanidar Cave. These were deeply emotional and highly intelligent beings. So, you must be wondering, if this rival species was physically superior, had larger brains, and possessed complex culture, why did they perish? The answer lies in a cruel twist of evolutionary biology. Their greatest physical advantage was simultaneously their most fatal and irreversible flaw. As the Ice Age worsened, the freezing winters became longer and more brutal. Food sources rapidly disappeared across the barren, snowy landscape. To keep your smaller, fragile body alive in this extreme cold, you might need around 2,000 to 3,000 calories a day. But a Neanderthal's massive, muscular, tank-like body demanded a staggering amount of fuel. They were walking engines that constantly burned massive energy. Anthropologists estimate that a robust male Neanderthal needed up to 5,000 calories every single day just to survive the freezing winter conditions. That means they had to successfully hunt and consume the caloric equivalent of several massive mammoth steaks every single day, without a single failure. When massive prey like woolly mammoths began to decline, their giant bodies became an evolutionary trap. They simply could not find enough food. Your ancestors, being smaller and much weaker, required significantly fewer calories. You could survive a harsh winter by eating smaller animals and gathered scraps. Your physical weakness literally kept you from starving to death. But eating less was not your only trick. You also had a bizarre social weapon. While Neanderthals lived in small, isolated family groups, your ancestors evolved a mated, completely different survival strategy based on communication and massive social networks. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar discovered a fascinating evolutionary link between the physical size of a primate's brain and the maximum size of their social group. According to Dunbar's research, your brain is biologically hardwired to maintain stable relationships with exactly 150 people. This is Dunbar's number. But how do you keep 150 individuals united without modern laws or police? The answer is something you still do today: gossiping. For your ancient ancestors, gossiping around the campfire was not a bad habit. It was the crucial social glue that kept the entire tribe together. Researcher Polly Wiesner found that nighttime campfire stories helped your ancestors build immense trust, share vital survival knowledge, and coordinate massive group efforts. Meanwhile, Neanderthals rarely formed groups larger than 20 or 30 people. Their massive bodies required too much food to sustain a large population. This meant that when a harsh winter wiped out an entire valley, a small Neanderthal family had absolutely no one else to ask for help. But your ancestors had built extensive social networks through gossip and trade. If your valley froze, you could simply seek refuge with your neighboring tribes. Archaeological evidence confirms that Homo sapiens transported shells and specialized tools across hundreds of miles, proving the existence of vast, interconnected ancient trade routes. Your ultimate survival weapon was not a sharper spear or a bigger muscle. It was your unparalleled ability to cooperate in massive, flexible numbers. Outnumbered and completely isolated, the powerful Neanderthals were slowly pushed to the absolute brink of extinction by your highly social, constantly gossiping ancestors. Around 40,000 years ago, the last remaining Neanderthals vanished entirely from the fossil record, leaving your species as the sole rulers of Earth. You might think this is the definitive end of their story. A simple tale of one human species completely wiping out a weaker rival. But recent DNA discoveries have revealed a massive, shocking twist. Your ancestors did not just fight the Neanderthals, they also got incredibly intimate with them. When your highly social ancestors encountered isolated Neanderthal groups in Eurasia, they didn't just fight, they interbred, leaving a permanent mark inside your own body. Evolutionary geneticist Svante Pääbo from the Max Planck Institute achieved the impossible. His team successfully sequenced the complete ancient DNA of a Neanderthal bone. Their groundbreaking research confirmed a staggering reality. If you are of non-African descent, roughly 1 to 2% of your DNA is distinctly Neanderthal. They were never entirely wiped out. Instead, their tiny remaining population was completely absorbed and swallowed by your rapidly expanding, massive human social networks. But let us change the timeline. What if the brutal Ice Age climate was slightly warmer, allowing their food sources to remain completely stable? Imagine an alternate reality where both of your species survived the freezing winters, perfectly intact. Two highly intelligent human branches walking the Earth simultaneously. Fast forward thousands of years to the most critical turning point in history, the Neolithic Revolution. Your ancestors begin planting seeds and domesticating animals. Anthropologist Jared Diamond famously called agriculture the worst mistake in the history of the human race. It introduced brutal new concepts into your world. Farming created massive food surpluses. For the first time ever, your ancestors claimed private property, built permanent walls, and invented extreme social inequality. In this parallel universe, how would a two-species society function? Who would become the dominant ruling class, and who would be forced to serve? The Neanderthals possess overwhelming physical strength. They could easily dominate any one-on-one physical conflict, acting as an unstoppable ancient military force or elite warriors. However, your species retains the ultimate social weapon. Thanks to Dunbar's number, you easily organize massive armies and build complex, sprawling ancient city bureaucracies. Your two species would likely form a deeply unequal, divided society. A bizarre civilization where biological differences literally determine your exact social class. Even daily survival would be extremely complicated. A Neanderthal elite would still require a staggering 5,000 calories of heavy meat every single day. Meanwhile, your weaker body can easily survive on simple grain and wheat. This biological difference would heavily shape the global economy of your parallel world. Welcome to the modern 21st century of this alternate timeline. The ancient agricultural divide has now evolved into a highly complex, two-species global society. You step onto a crowded morning subway train. The world around you is completely shaped by the biological differences of two distinct human species. Sitting right next to you is a heavily muscled Neanderthal. They are wearing a tailored business suit and quietly scrolling through a modern smartphone. Because of your species' ancient ability to maintain massive social networks, your kind completely dominates global politics, corporate management, and international diplomacy today. Meanwhile, the immense physical power of the Neanderthals makes them the absolute elite in heavy construction, deep-sea diving, and specialized military forces. Turn on your television to watch the modern Olympic Games. The sports are entirely segregated based on ancient evolutionary biology and skeletal structure. In heavy powerlifting, boxing, or any brutal contact sport, a Neanderthal athlete would be absolutely terrifying and entirely unbeatable by your fragile species. But if you watch a long-distance marathon, your ancestors' persistence, hunting adaptations guarantee that you will always take home the gold medal. Beyond sports, building a society for two wildly different body types creates a total logistical nightmare for everyday modern human infrastructure and design. Standard office chairs, car seats, and airplane cabins designed for your slender frame would literally snap under the immense weight of a Neanderthal. Their ancient biological engines still demand massive fuel. To survive a modern workday, they must consume staggering amounts of dense, high-calorie food continuously. A simple weekly trip to the grocery store would cost them nearly double or triple what you pay just to keep your body functioning. However, the most dangerous division in this parallel modern world is not about food or office furniture. It is about global health and medicine. Because they evolved in small, isolated groups in freezing climates, their ancient immune systems never adapted to massive, crowded city environments like yours. A simple seasonal cold virus that merely gives you a mild cough could quickly become a devastatingly fatal pandemic for your Neanderthal coworkers. It is not just physical health that divides the two species in this modern parallel world. The deepest fracture is entirely psychological. Remember Dunbar's number? Your brain is biologically hardwired to smoothly handle complex social networks of exactly 150 different people. You naturally crave crowded parties, massive concerts, and bustling city streets. Your highly social species draws immense energy from the chaotic human hive. But a Neanderthal's ancient brain evolved for deep emotional intimacy within extremely small, highly isolated family units of roughly 20 closely related individuals. Thrusting them into a loud, overpopulated modern metropolis of 8 million people would immediately trigger catastrophic levels of severe and painful psychological distress. Walking through a brightly lit, crowded modern shopping mall would subject their quiet minds to a terrifying sensory overload and paralyzing social anxiety. Anthropologists call this an evolutionary mismatch. Their ancient minds would constantly perceive your dense, harmless crowds as an overwhelming and highly dangerous threat. To survive this mental strain, modern Neanderthals would likely retreat to isolated rural areas, staying far away from your towering, noisy concrete jungle. This severe psychological divide would completely redraw the modern global map. Your highly social species would pack into megacities while they ruled the wilderness. And then comes the absolute ultimate social weapon your ancestors could have ever invented: the modern internet and global social media platforms. For you, a digital platform explicitly designed for endless gossiping and tracking thousands of strangers is an absolute and highly addictive evolutionary playground. Your brain receives massive dopamine hits from reading global social drama, perfectly mimicking the vital ancient campfire storytelling of your distant ancestors. But for a Neanderthal, endlessly scrolling through a global feed of loud, aggressive strangers would feel like a constant, agonizing psychological attack. They simply lack the ancient biological hardware required to process the artificial, hyper-connected digital networks that you effortlessly navigate every single day. This parallel reality reveals exactly how your unique mind conquered the planet. But as you know, this two-species world never actually happened. The alternate reality is gone. You are back in the brutal, freezing, Ice Age tundra. Your massive rivals are fighting a rapidly losing battle. They never got the chance to build a modern world or scroll through a smartphone. Their timeline was abruptly cut short by absolute starvation. As the deep freeze worsened, the giant woolly mammoths they relied on disappeared. Their massive bodies suddenly became a fatal, inescapable biological prison. A Neanderthal hunter needed thousands of calories just to maintain their muscle mass. Without giant prey, their built-in biological engine simply ran out of fuel. Meanwhile, your ancestors survived on a fraction of those calories. You shared small game and gathered roots through your massive, interconnected tribal trade networks. Evidence from Gorham's Cave in Gibraltar suggests the very last isolated Neanderthal groups huddled around fading fires, watching their ancient world slowly end. Around 40,000 years ago, the final fire went out. For the first time in millions of years, only one human species walked the Earth. You look around the empty, frozen landscape. Your physically weaker, highly social species had somehow won the greatest evolutionary lottery in planetary history. But extinction is rarely a simple, clean line. The Neanderthals did not just vanish into the cold dust of the ancient Paleolithic wind. When your ancestors crossed paths with them, they mated. They absorbed those ancient ice-adapted genes directly into the biological blueprint of your species. Right now, as you sit watching this video, a microscopic ghost of a Neanderthal is actively living and breathing inside your own veins. This ancient DNA is not just a dormant museum relic. It is a highly active biological program that fundamentally alters how your body functions. When your ancestors migrated out of Africa, they encountered deadly new Eurasian viruses. Neanderthal genes provided the exact immune system upgrade you desperately needed. Their genes also made your blood clot significantly faster, preventing you from bleeding to death after being slashed by vicious Ice Age predators. Those ancient traits were absolute superpowers for surviving the freezing wilderness. But in your modern, comfortable life, they are secretly turning against you. To understand why your body is attacking itself today, you must look at the extreme difference between ancient threats and your safe modern comforts. Evolutionary biologists call this dangerous phenomenon an evolutionary mismatch. Traits that brilliantly saved your ancestors' lives are now completely out of place today. Take your blood, for example. The rapid clotting mutation that stopped you from bleeding to death from a massive cave bear swipe long ago is the exact same genetic mechanism that drastically increases your risk of suffering a fatal blood clot during a long, comfortable airplane flight. And what about that incredibly aggressive immune system you genetically inherited from your ancient Neanderthal encounters in the freezing, harsh, prehistoric Eurasian environments? In the filthy, parasite-filled environments of the prehistoric wilderness, an overactive immune system was absolutely your best defense against deadly, unknown ancient pathogens. But today, sitting inside your highly sanitized, perfectly clean modern apartments, your ancient immune system becomes incredibly bored, highly hyperactive, and deeply confused. With no real ancient parasites left to fight, your Neanderthal-inherited immune cells start aggressively attacking completely harmless things, like simple spring pollen dust. This is a leading scientific theory for why you suffer from severe allergies. Your ancient biological shield is literally turning around and attacking you. Recent groundbreaking studies by geneticists Hugo Zeyberg and Svante Pääbo even linked specific Neanderthal DNA fragments to severe modern respiratory viral infections today. You are actively walking around with a patchwork biological engine. A significant portion of your software was coded for a world that vanished. In a strange way, this genetic burden is the ultimate, invisible tax your species is paying for outliving every other human branch on Earth. So the next time you sneeze violently at a pet cat, or suffer from a severe allergy, do not just blame your immediate environment. That violent sneeze is an ancient echo. It is the biological ghost of a Neanderthal who barely survived the freezing Ice Age tundra winds. Their physical bodies may have completely died out 40,000 years ago, but their daily ancient struggles are still actively shaping your medical records. Your ancient rivals never truly went extinct. They simply found a brand new way to survive by hiding deep inside your own DNA structure. Today, you only see their faces reconstructed behind thick museum glass. You treat them like distant, alien creatures from a completely forgotten fantasy world. But the absolute truth is that your current reality is the real anomaly. Having only one human species on Earth is actually incredibly bizarre. For nearly all of evolutionary history, the planet was a crowded, diverse place. You constantly shared the environment with several other highly intelligent human branches. Now, you sit alone at the top of the evolutionary ladder. Your species built towering megacities, yet you still suffer from a massive loneliness epidemic. This profound modern isolation might happen because your ancient social brain evolved to live alongside other human species, not just your own identical reflections. Some anthropologists suggest that deep down your species is collectively grieving. You are subconsciously missing the ancient siblings you completely wiped off the map. Just look at your deep obsession with pets. When the other humans vanished, your ancestors immediately began domesticating wolves to fill that painful void. You actively sought out other intelligent animals to be your companions, because the quiet emptiness of a single species planet was simply too much to bear. Today, your incredible technological brain drives you to build giant telescopes, frantically searching the dark, vast universe for any signs of other intelligent life. You beam radio signals deep into the galaxy, desperately hoping that someone, somewhere, will answer you. You are terrified of being completely alone, But the tragic irony is that you already had incredibly intelligent, fire-making, tool-building companions living right next door to you for thousands of years. You already encountered the alien intelligence you are currently searching for. And you simply push them into absolute extinction with your relentless social networks. You have successfully conquered the oceans, split the atom, and even walked on the moon. But you did it entirely by yourself, completely alone. The ultimate price of your ancestors' incredible social networking skills and persistence hunting was the complete and utter solitude of your entire human family. As you sit alone at the absolute top of the evolutionary ladder, the silence of a single species planet can feel incredibly heavy. But the greatest secret of human history is that this loneliness is actually a massive illusion. You were never truly left entirely alone. The Neanderthals, the Denisovans, and perhaps other ancient humans we have not discovered yet, did not just disappear into the freezing Paleolithic dirt. They survived the only way they possibly could. They surrendered their physical forms and uploaded their ancient biological codes directly into your veins. Your brain, specifically evolved for a simple tribe of 150 people, is now desperately trying to manage a world of 8 billion. Every time you feel overwhelmed by a crowded city or stressed by digital notifications, you are feeling the heavy friction of evolutionary mismatch. It is the quiet ghost of a small tribe Neanderthal mind violently clashing with the massive, hyper-connected social network of a Homo sapiens world. Anthropologists remind us today that we must stop looking at our extinct siblings as dumb, primitive brutes who simply failed the survival test. They were highly intelligent, deeply emotional survivors who successfully conquered the most unforgiving, brutal Ice Age environments on Earth for hundreds of thousands of years. They freely gave you the crucial immune system upgrades and physical traits that allowed your fragile ancestors to step out of Africa and survive. So tomorrow morning, when you wake up in your warm, safe, modern bedroom, completely sheltered from the harsh, deadly realities of the prehistoric wild, you will walk into your bathroom, turn on the bright artificial lights, and look directly into the reflective glass of your clean, modern mirror. You lock eyes with a figure across the glass. They look exactly like you, but hiding beneath the surface is something much older. For 99% of human history, encountering another species was not a bizarre sci-fi fantasy. It was your terrifying daily reality. Today, 8 billion of you belong to a single species. But inside your DNA, our greatest ancient rivals never vanished. They became you.